So I say, walk by the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of the flesh. Galatians chapter 5, verse 16. Why is it that those with the greatest spiritual callings often face the strongest battles with lust? It's a struggle few are willing to talk about, yet it's far more common than you think. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by this hidden battle, know that you are not alone. There is a deeper reason why chosen ones, those set apart for divine purpose, are uniquely targeted by this temptation. Throughout the Bible, even the most anointed individuals struggled with lust. King David, a man after God's own heart, fell into sin with Bathsheba. Samson, born with supernatural strength, was deceived and weakened by his desire for Delilah. These stories are not just historical, they reveal a spiritual pattern. If God has set you apart for something greater, the enemy will try to use lust to weaken you. But why? The truth is, this isn't just about human desires. Lust is a spiritual attack, a strategy designed to distract, drain, and derail those with a higher calling. And here's something shocking. The very gift that makes you spiritually powerful is also what makes you more vulnerable to temptation. But we'll get to that soon. Comment 888 below if you're ready to step into your divine power and awaken to the truth. For now, let's start with something that might surprise you. Your greatest spiritual gifts come with hidden weaknesses. 5. Strong spiritual gifts come with a weak flesh. It's a mystery that has confused many. How can someone with such a strong spiritual anointing still struggle with the desires of the flesh? Shouldn't divine calling and wisdom be enough to overcome lust? The reality is, being spiritually gifted does not mean being immune to temptation. In fact, the more spiritually gifted you are, the more vulnerable you might be. The Bible shows us this paradox clearly. Samson was given extraordinary strength by God, yet his weakness for Delilah led to his downfall. Solomon, the wisest man who ever lived, was led astray by his desires for foreign women, which ultimately caused his kingdom to fall into idolatry. Even the Apostle Paul acknowledged this battle, writing in Romans chapter 7, verse 19, "For the good that I will to do, I do not do, but the evil I will not to do, that I practice." This isn't just about physical urges. It's about the tension between spirit and flesh. The more anointed you are, the more the enemy seeks to exploit your human nature. The Bible warns us in Matthew chapter 26, verse 41, "The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak." This is why so many chosen ones, despite their divine calling, find themselves caught in cycles of lust. But why does this happen? Because spiritual gifts operate in the supernatural realm, while the flesh is still tied to the natural world. Your spirit may be elevated, but your body still responds to earthly desires. This imbalance creates a constant internal struggle. Those with great spiritual power often feel more deeply, love more intensely, and experience passion on a heightened level, which means when temptation comes, it doesn't just knock, it demands attention. Lust is the enemy's counterfeit version of something sacred. The enemy knows that chosen ones are destined to form deep, divine connections, so he offers a false substitute to corrupt that purity. Instead of genuine intimacy and purpose-driven relationships, lust presents a fleeting pleasure that leaves behind guilt, distraction, and spiritual weakness. But weakness alone isn't enough to make someone fall. There's something deeper, something that starts in the heart and mind, and that's where emotional wounds come in. 4. Emotional wounds create open doors. Lust is rarely just about physical temptation. It often takes root in the deepest parts of the soul. For many chosen ones, the battle with lust is tied to unhealed emotional wounds, rejection, abandonment, heartbreak. These experiences leave scars that don't just fade with time, and where there is pain, the enemy offers counterfeits to soothe it. Lust is one of those counterfeits. Many chosen ones have lived lives marked by deep emotional suffering. They have been misunderstood, cast aside, and made to feel unworthy of love. Childhood neglect, betrayal by loved ones, or even spiritual loneliness can leave a void, an ache to feel wanted, seen, and desired. The enemy knows this and whispers, "Here's something that will make you feel better just for a moment." This is why so many fall into the trap of lust, not because they lack self-control, but because their hearts are searching for comfort. Lust becomes an easy escape, a quick way to numb the pain of feeling unloved or unseen. But here's the deception. Lust doesn't heal, it deepens the wound. What starts as a temporary relief quickly turns into a cycle of shame, guilt, and self-condemnation. We see this pattern in the Bible. The Samaritan woman at the well had been with many men, yet she still felt empty. When Jesus spoke to her in John chapter 4, verse 13 to 14, he revealed the truth. "Whoever drinks of this water will thirst again, but whoever drinks of the water that I shall give him will never thirst." She had been drinking from the wrong well, seeking fulfillment in the flesh, when what she truly needed was healing in her spirit. Lust is a false well. It promises satisfaction, but never delivers. Instead, it leaves chosen ones feeling more distant from their divine purpose, more ashamed, and more trapped in a battle they don't fully understand. But here's the good news. Emotional wounds don't have to define your struggle. Healing is possible. True healing begins when you recognize that no amount of lust can fill the void meant to be filled by God's love. Breaking this cycle starts with inner restoration, because when the wounds are healed, the enemy loses his access point. But there's still one more thing that makes this battle even harder: the fact that chosen ones are isolated. 3. High calling attracts greater attacks. The enemy does not waste his efforts on those who pose no threat. If you are a chosen one, set apart for a divine mission, you will face greater attacks than the average person. The higher your calling, the more intense the warfare, and lust is one of the enemy's most effective weapons. Think about it. Throughout history, some of the greatest spiritual leaders fell to temptation. King David was a man after God's own heart, yet his desire for Bathsheba led to devastating consequences. Samson was chosen before birth to be a deliverer for Israel, yet his weakness for Delilah led to his downfall. Even Solomon, blessed with unmatched wisdom, allowed his many wives and concubines to turn his heart away from God. This is not a coincidence. The enemy specifically targets those with the most potential. If he can corrupt a chosen one, he can delay, weaken, or even destroy the divine mission they were born to fulfill. Lust is a strategic tool in this attack. It doesn't just cause sin, it creates a cycle of shame, distraction, and spiritual exhaustion. When you are walking in your purpose, every decision you make carries weight. Your purity, clarity, and focus are crucial. But the enemy knows that lust can cloud your mind, weaken your spiritual authority, and keep you entangled in battles that drain your energy. What should have been time spent growing, creating, and fulfilling your mission becomes wasted in guilt and inner conflict. This is why the enemy sends temptation at critical moments. When you're on the verge of a breakthrough, when you're stepping into new levels of spiritual power, when you're growing in wisdom and discernment, that's when the attack comes strongest. Because if he can catch you off guard, he can slow you down before you even realize what's happening. But here's what many don't see. The very fact that you're under this kind of attack is proof of your calling. The enemy doesn't fight those who are powerless. He fights those who carry divine authority. So, what's the solution? It starts with recognizing the real battle. This isn't just a struggle of the flesh, it's spiritual warfare. And to fight effectively, you need to understand one more critical factor. Isolation makes this battle even harder. 2. Isolation leads to hidden battles. One of the greatest struggles for chosen ones is the path of solitude. Being set apart often means walking alone, misunderstood by those around you, navigating a journey that few can truly comprehend. While this isolation can be a blessing, allowing for deep spiritual growth and revelation, it also creates a dangerous vulnerability, hidden battles that no one sees. Lust thrives in secrecy. It is a battle fought in the mind, in private moments, in the shadows where no one else is watching. Many chosen ones face this struggle in silence because they feel there is no one they can turn to. They fear judgment, shame, and the weight of expectation that comes with being spiritually strong. The enemy uses this isolation against them, whispering, "You're the only one struggling with this. You can never tell anyone." But that is a lie. The truth is, even the most powerful warriors of God have faced temptation. The enemy knows that if he can keep you isolated, he can keep you bound. Without accountability, support, and spiritual connections, the battle becomes much harder to fight. The Bible warns us about this in Ecclesiastes, chapter 4, verse 10. "For if they fall, one will lift up his companion, but woe to him who is alone when he falls, for he has no one to help him up." This is why many chosen ones suffer in cycles of lust. They struggle in silence, trying to fight a battle that was never meant to be fought alone. God created us for community, for brotherhood and sisterhood in faith. Without it, temptation feels stronger, and the burden becomes heavier. But here's where many get trapped. They confuse isolation with holiness. They believe that being set apart means being completely alone. While it's true that chosen ones walk a unique path, God never intended for them to carry their burdens in silence. Even Jesus, in his most difficult moments, brought Peter, James, and John with him to pray. If the Son of God sought support in his darkest hour, how much more do we need it? Breaking free from lust starts with breaking free from isolation. Finding a trusted mentor, a spiritual confidant, or a faith-based support group can make all the difference. When the light of truth enters, darkness loses its power. And yet, even with accountability, there's still one deeper truth to confront: the root of the battle itself. Spiritual sensitivity makes temptation stronger. 1. Spiritual sensitivity makes temptation stronger. Many people assume that being spiritually gifted means being immune to temptation, but the reality is the opposite. Chosen ones don't struggle with lust because they are weak. They struggle because they are highly sensitive to the spiritual realm. This heightened sensitivity makes everything more intense: the presence of God, divine revelations, but also the weight of temptation. The enemy recognizes this sensitivity and exploits it. Just as chosen ones can easily discern spiritual truths, they can also feel the pull of fleshly desires more deeply. Lust isn't just a random temptation, it's a calculated attack. The Bible makes this clear in Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12. "For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places." This means that the battle against lust is not just about resisting physical urges, it's about resisting a spiritual assault designed to weaken the chosen one's divine calling. Have you ever noticed how temptation seems to intensify right before a spiritual breakthrough? This is no coincidence. When a chosen one is about to step into a new level of anointing, the enemy increases the pressure. The mind becomes flooded with distractions, past struggles resurface, and temptations that once seemed manageable feel impossible to resist. It's an attempt to drain your spiritual power before you can walk into your purpose. But why does this sensitivity make lust so difficult to overcome? Because lust isn't just a desire, it's a counterfeit form of spiritual connection. Chosen ones crave deep intimacy with God, but if they're not careful, their heightened emotions and spiritual longing can be misdirected toward physical gratification. Lust offers a false sense of fulfillment. a momentary escape from loneliness, stress, or spiritual warfare. It deceives the mind into believing it is satisfying a real need, when in reality, it only leads to deeper emptiness. The good news is, this sensitivity, when disciplined, can be a powerful weapon against temptation. Through prayer, fasting, and renewing the mind daily, chosen ones can shift their sensitivity away from fleshly desires and toward divine strength. The enemy may know how to exploit spiritual sensitivity, but those who recognize this tactic can turn it into their greatest defense. Lust is not just a human weakness, it is a strategic weapon used against chosen ones to weaken their divine calling. This battle is not about mere physical temptation, but about spiritual warfare, emotional wounds, isolation, and the unique struggles that come with being set apart. The enemy knows that if he can trap a chosen one in cycles of lust, he can slow down their spiritual growth, distort their purpose, and keep them from fully stepping into their destiny. But here's the truth: victory is possible. The first step to overcoming this struggle is recognizing that it is not just a personal failure, it is an attack. Lust thrives in secrecy, but the moment it is exposed, its power weakens. Chosen ones must break free from isolation, seek accountability, and understand that their sensitivity to the spiritual realm is both a challenge and a gift. Through deep inner healing, spiritual discipline, and intentional renewal of the mind, this battle can be won. Remember, your calling is too great to be derailed by this struggle. The enemy may try to use lust to pull you away from your purpose, but God has already given you the power to overcome it. The question is, will you fight for your destiny, or will you allow this battle to hold you back? The choice is yours. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel for more deep spiritual insights, and if you feel led, consider sending a super thanks to support the mission. Your engagement helps spread this message to more chosen ones who need to hear it. Stay strong, stay awakened, and keep walking in your divine purpose.